Let's take a look at a few other commands in Ubuntu. We've looked at the make directory, so the mkdir, and want to name that my directory. So I'll put that in there, and as you can see, I am on the desktop as far as the navigation of the folders. Now if I navigate into my directory, then I can create a file by using the touch command. I'm going to name it file.txt, enter. Now when I ls, I can see that there. Now if I want to create another file and call that file2.txt for a quick review, let's use the nano command, file2.txt. Open it up. This is a file. I'll save it. Yes, I would like to save that. Yes. And so now when I look, I have file2 and file.txt. Another command that I can use when creating directories is if I want to nest directories. So let's say I want to create inside this folder where I'm at in the My Directory folder, I want to create 3 folders called Directory 1, Directory 2, and Directory 3, but I don't want to go through the create directory or the make directory commands as I've been doing. Now I can use a shortcut for creating those, and so if I make directory and I use the tac p, which is for the nested, then I can name them Directory 1, Directory 2, and Directory 3. Now when I run the ls, I can see Directory 1, but I can't really see what's in it. But let's see what this command really did. If I open up my directory here, I see here's Directory 1, directory or file.txt, and file2.txt. If I open up Directory 1, it goes to Directory 2 inside there. If I open that up, Directory 3 is inside that. And if I open that up, there's nothing in Directory 3. So it's a good way to do some nested directories without having to create individual directories and then navigate into the directory and create another directory. So I'll close this out. Now we know that we have a few directories and files in my directory, but at this point I want to delete my directory and all of the contents. So the first thing I'll do is move out of my directory because that's where I'm at right now. I want to move back up to the desktop. So the first thing I want to do is I want to cd to my desktop. So cd .. That's going to put me back at the desktop. And now I want to recursively delete my directory and all of those files that are in my directory. So instead of having to go individually, beginning at Directory 3 and delete it, to Directory 1 and then delete Directory 2 and so on and so forth, I can recursively delete everything. To do that, I'm going to use the remove command with a -r for recursive. And if I want to force the deletion, I can use an F as well. So the tac rf together along with the name, my directory, should delete that. It's gone. So I ls, there's nothing left on my desktop. So a pretty easy way of being able to move things around nest things and then be able to delete recursively, which means everything in that folder and below. So you're deleting everything. One word of caution, make sure that when you use that command, you know exactly what is in the folders and the subfolders. Now, a couple of other commands that I'd like to show is one is the Ifconfig command. We've used this before in previous videos, but Ifconfig is going to show all of your interfaces. So we've got a bridge 0, Ethernet 0, and then a local or the loop. But we can also turn these on and off, and we can actually look at them individually. So if I use the up arrow and go back to Ifconfig ETH0, then I can just take a look at that interface. So a few commands that I would like to show for Ifconfig. As we saw earlier, I can do Ifconfig LO, and it will just show me that interface. Now, I'm not going to change any of these numbers, but I will show you these commands coming up here for the Ifconfig. One is Ifconfig and then your Ethernet up or down. So if I ran the Ifconfig etho up, then that would bring that interface up. If I wanted to change the IP address, I could certainly do that. I could change that to 192.168.1.2 or what have you. If I remove the IP address, I can also bring the interface into promiscuous mode by typing in promisc. And then once it's in promiscuous mode, if I wanted to take it out, I would just use a tack or a dash. And one last thing is changing the MAC address. If I wanted to change this, I would just add on HW Ethernet 0 and then type in exactly what the MAC address was going to be. So that would change the MAC address, and we'll be using those in future videos. Now, one last thing is moving a file. So I'm going to make a directory, and I'm just going to call that directory test here on the desktop, and I'm going to create a file on the desktop, file.txt. So there's the file and there's the directory. And what I'd like to do is I'd like to move file into the test directory, the simple move command. So we're going to move file.txt. We want to move it into our test directory, and we want it to remain called file.txt. Now you probably figured out that you can also use this command to change the name of the file. If I hit enter, we can now see that test itself, if I were to do an ls of test, then I can see that file.txt is actually in the test directory. Now let's create one more, and we're going to call this again file.txt. That's going to be on the desktop. And now this time what I want to do is I want to move it into the test directory, but I also want to change the name to file2.txt. Well, if I just use the up arrow and come back to that first command, This is fairly simple. I'll just put a 2 right there. So I've got move file into the test directory, call it file2.txt. Now, if I run that same command to take a look at what's in the test directory, I can see that I have file2 and file.txt. Pretty easy way to move and to change the name of files as well. We'll just remove test and everything in it, so I don't have to go into the folder and delete one by one as we saw earlier. I just want to remove the file. And do you remember what we used? TAC RF. And let's go ahead and tell it which one to delete, and it is gone. So those are just a few other commands. We looked again at a different way to create a file, ways to move files, to rename files, and how to remove directories, recursively remove a file or directory with everything inside it as well, how to manipulate our interfaces with Ifconfig commands to bring the interface up or down, change the IP address, enter promiscuous mode, and exit promiscuous mode, and also to change the MAC address.